The Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from the finals again after the Game 5 win. And is the inexperience starting to show for the San Antonio Spurs? It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. The finals almost set after the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the San Antonio Spurs 127-114 in Game 5. We're going to look at the Thunder in this one. Their experience, just the margins really kind of shining for them here. A good game from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as well. We'll look at the Spurs. Wemby struggling. Is the inexperience showing for the San Antonio Spurs? Oh, by the way, on Wednesdays, I'm your co-host. I'm excited about the games, John. I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, host of Locked On Pelicans.
And I'm John Corrales, at John_Corrales on Twitter, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. We're excited.
We're excited. Look, this series has been fun. This game was really interesting. I'm excited to talk about it. But let's start by kicking it over to Rylan Stiles and Locked On Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder get a must-win Game 5 to go their way. SGA had a much better game in this contest, but the story of the game has to be that Chet Holmgren finally stepped up with a huge double-double. Isaiah Hartenstein continues to be huge in this matchup, even after the fact that Game 1, we didn't think that Hart would play much of a role in this series. He's now been a key cog in 2 of the Thunder's 3 wins in this best-of-7 set. Alex Caruso continues to knock down unbelievable shots, and Jared McCain. What a story. From the G League this year to being traded and to now having a massive impact for OKC, the reigning champs in the NBA playoffs. This win puts OKC in the driver's seat of this series, but it's far from over. The Thunder have to go to San Antonio in a couple of days here for Game 6, then could be back here for a Game 7. But ultimately, the defending champs, the team that's been the best team in basketball all year long, have 2 chances to win 1, while San Antonio has to go 2-0. We'll see how the rest of the series unfolds, but an impressive win. Down J-Dub, down A.J. Mitchell, the most impressive win of this Thunder's core's tenure together. We'll talk about it all on today's Locked On Thunder podcast.
You know, I did think it was an impressive win. I think he kind of nailed that. Like, when you're down those kind of guys, to have one thing I've just noticed this whole series, right? Whoever plays for the Thunder in whatever minutes they play, they just go like 110%, like every single moment they're on the court. You know, in New Orleans, Jamal Mosley just had his introductory press conference, and, you know, he's like, one of our tenets is going to be like, we won't be outworked. If you play the Thunder, you're almost going to get outworked every single time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we'll get to the Knicks later on in the third segment. The speed at which this Western Conference Finals is being played, it is different. It's just and I know that we're gonna give the Knicks their due, but it still is a different kind of basketball. The way the Thunder work, the way they defend, they take a good team like the Spurs, and expose all of the flaws. The Spurs, we're going to get to the Spurs inexperience and all of that stuff. But whenever the Spurs made a run, the Thunder just turned up the defense and forced turnovers. The Spurs were sloppy as well, but every pass that they made for a while there, it felt like there was a deflection. The Thunder, at their best, even without J-Dub, even shorthanded, they are getting big-time contributions from role players that come in and just bust their butts and are, if nothing else, whoever is on that floor is going to go full speed, but full speed under control. Yeah. And that's the thing about the Thunder.
Yeah, it's just when they get going like this, it's very impressive. You know, San Antonio made this a game at times. They had a couple of runs, and then like right before you got nervous for the Thunder, they were like, no, enough of that. And they had an answer to that every single time. At no point was like, oh no. And it's just like truthfully, like you look at guys like Casey Wallace really stepping up off the bench and just being massively impactful. Alex Caruso has just been like such a difference maker. Imagine if the Lakers like just didn't cheap out on him years ago.
I mean, come on. They
just gotta throw that in there.
Forget the Lakers. What about the Bulls? The Bulls had them. That's a team that would like to be good.
Maybe not now. They just did say they're going to go through a rebuild now. So
yeah, finally, but they had opportunities. But anyway, regardless, the Thunder, to me, Caruso is the story. It's actually Caruso and Hartenstein, because
I want to talk about Hartenstein. Let's do Caruso first.
Okay, yeah. So Caruso, him going 4 of 8 from 3. The game plan is to kind of live with what Caruso is going to do shooting wise. And if he's high volume, 50% on high volume, and on top of that, 8 of 8 from the line, right? That's only second to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who obviously 17 times at the free throw line. But Alex Caruso, you get 22 points out of him. It's hard to lose a game when you're OKC getting 22 from Alex Caruso. He was not only everywhere defensively, turn around, fade away, mid-range shots, stepping into open. Like he was a scorer, man. He was a legit scorer in this game.
No, he's just adding that piece is just wild to me. And it was like for nothing, right?
Yeah,
like, team's got to stop trading with OKC. It kind of feels.
Well,
like
Josh Giddey's he'll be like, well, I'm not gonna say I'm nothing, but it's for what the Thunder needed. This was a perfect trade.
Perfect move. Isaiah Hartenstein was fantastic, like absolutely phenomenal. His defense on Victor Wembanyama, and we'll talk about Wemby in the next segment here. He made him uncomfortable at times with some of that physicality, but also like giving them just enough offensively to like kind of make Wemby a little bit like awkward defensively, I thought, in this one. Like that little floater that he's brought out, you talk about this. We've been doing this show for like 10 years together. You love some of those type of body blows, you call them, right? Like soften you up in terms of a boxing thing. You know, those floaters make Wemby take a step or two forward. And all of a sudden that changes like the geometry of the court. And that stuff really matters. And Hartenstein, in game 1, it looked like he was going to be unplayable in this series.
Yeah.
You could argue he's like the silent MVP of this.
You can argue, 15 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, taking advantage of space. Like they've really been able to take advantage of that. It has been super impressive that he didn't give in after that game 1. They talked about it during the broadcast where he was practicing those little floaters and getting the higher arc and dialing in the shooting over Wemby kind of dynamic of getting those shots to fall. It's those little things that you know what you have to do to slow down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a little bit. I mean, he scored 32, so it was obviously a much better game. Yeah. But he was still 7 of 19. It's not the most efficient game for him. But what Isaiah Hartenstein does, it allows Chet Holmgren to operate and do what he does. It does. If you're now worried about that guy, like you mentioned, it just that little bit of a distraction is why you see a play where I forget who it was that was driving for maybe it was Cason Wallace who was driving, and Wemby is worried out in the corner, or he's worried about, and he's leaning to use his length, but he's not really positioning his body to be in a spot to be as big a deterrent as he normally is. Wemby at his best is not just blocking shots, he's changing the entire dynamic. To see them going at him, going into the paint,
they just decided they weren't going to be scared of him in this game. It kind of felt like, and they were like, let's just go at him and kind of take it to him. And it worked really well. You mentioned Chet, and this is my final point on them. Tying it with Hartenstein, right, and getting that kind of defense from Hartenstein, it looks like the Spurs are not scared of Chet Holmgren defensively at all. Like they seem to like going at him, I think. And I think this has not been the greatest series from him. Having a guy like Hartenstein kind of be there to balance it out, I think it's like so incredibly important.
We're going to look in the next segment at Victor Wembanyama's shot chart. And I think I have been just gassing up Wemby, and I think that he's going to be multiple time MVP, and the Spurs are going to be the future champions. Like it's going to be OKC and the Spurs over and over and over and over again. But the one knock on Wemby is he's just so thin and he lacks that strength. And it's the one thing that Hartenstein has. And when you pack the paint and when you make it so it's hard for a 7.5 foot guy to dribble into the trees and into a very packed paint, that's when you get what you saw from Wemby in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, let's hit the break. Let's go talk about the San Antonio Spurs and an awful Victor Wembanyama game and their inexperience kind of showing up. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like live playoff basketball. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries. It's a completely different experience when you're in the building. The NBA playoffs where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard-to-get playoff games, in just a few taps. And with the Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Game Time's going to make it easy to find great seats in just a couple of moments. And one thing I really like is the price you see is the price you pay. Fees are included. There's no surprises at checkout. And the seat view feature is a game changer. You can actually see what your view will look like before you buy. Look, Game Time's not just for NBA playoff tickets, for concerts, theater, comedy, more. If you're going to a venue you've never been to before, you want the tickets you want. Use the seat view feature to get them here. Plus, with the lowest price guarantee and ticket coverage, you can feel confident every time you're buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. It's that classic taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's the quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I always love birthday cake. Everyone loves birthday cake, but you can't be eating sweets all day, so this is a perfect alternative. Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy Shots taste just like birthday cake. It's vanilla-y, buttery, all those flavors that let you just be unapologetically extra and give you unstoppable energy here. It's all cake, no sugar. You can have your cake and sip it too, minus any sugar guilt. And I love how convenient it is. Just a small portable shot you can grab whenever you need a little bit of a pick-me-up. So the Funfetti flavor is back on 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy Shots today. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week covering every single game played across the association this season, the playoffs, the finals, and yeah, we'll keep it going even when the season is actually over. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over, I don't even know how many subscribers we have on YouTube, but join them there as well. And consider joining the Everydayer Club. You're going to get access to ad-free Locked On NBA Game Night and Locked On NBA. So start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to the league without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes down below to learn more. All right, John, we were talking about the OKC side of things. They were just good, which is who they are. No real surprise there. I did think the San Antonio Spurs showed a lot of inexperience, but let's go over to Matthew Tynan and Locked On Spurs for his take.
San Antonio looked lethargic, and Oklahoma City overcame a slow start, didn't look back the rest of the way, for the most part, on their way to a 127-114 victory to take a 3-2 series lead in the Western Conference Finals. This thing's heading back to San Antonio. My name is Matthew Tynan, Locked on Spurs. San Antonio came out just with real weird energy, especially relative to Sunday night. Maybe you can't expect them to get up for that kind of effort, that kind of intensity, that kind of activity that you saw, particularly on the defensive end that you saw Sunday night. But for the most part, even on offense, Victor Wembanyama, 4 of 15 from the field, really didn't seem to want to get inside and push around with an Oklahoma City team that was willing to push around. You also got a great game from Julian Champagnie and Keldon Johnson, two guys that have been struggling offensively. The rest of the team, outside of, I guess, maybe Stephon Castle, weren't up to the task in this one. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City got back to their ways, especially with Alex Caruso and Jared McCain, who were stifled in Game 4, combined to go for 42 tonight. And then there's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, who got 32 points, his highest scoring game of the series so far, found his way to the free throw line a ton. I think officiating is probably going to be a story after this game. Again, it has been all series long, so why wouldn't it be? But fact of the matter is, San Antonio did not match the intensity that Oklahoma City came out with tonight. And you could tell that the activity after a pretty strong first half, forcing turnovers, getting out and running, the pace slowed down. The defense started giving up points. You saw a bunch of offensive rebounds start going Oklahoma City's way. The same with the 50-50 balls. It all convoluted into a mess that San Antonio couldn't quite overcome. We'll see how they do on Thursday back at home.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up, right?
Yeah. They definitely did not understand, I think, the magnitude. I think they understood the magnitude of, like, yes, this is a big game. I don't think they understood exactly where they needed to raise that level.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
I think everybody
they just didn't meet the moment, right?
Yeah, this is where the inexperience comes in. You feel like, okay, we're going to come out, we're going to do this, and when you don't understand what the opponent who has been there before, what kind of intensity they're coming out with, like if we're looking at a scale of 100, right, and the Spurs are like, you know what, we're going to be at 100, we can be at 100, and the Thunder are like, no, actually, in this situation, we can go to 115. We have found a way to go past the 100 because that's what you need to do to win a championship. Like, that's what the Spurs are like. Oh, okay, I gotcha. And now that's what leads to Wembanyama going, taking so many 3-pointers, and I think he obviously has a tendency to do that too. But they just the turnovers, sloppy play, guys just, I think the Thunder, like I said in the last segment, when they play fast but under control, the Spurs were playing sped up, and they couldn't play at that speed under that control. They were just playing fast, and that was throwing off their timing. You saw an alley-oop to Wemby that ended up being like under the, like, they couldn't connect the way they normally connect. And so the question for the Spurs to me is, was this game enough for all of them to be like, okay, I get it? Or are they just, is it going to take an off season for them to be like, oh, wow, okay, what just happened to us?
Yeah, it's their inexperience showing through, I think, in this one. Look, you in the first half, you had Dylan Harper with 3 turnovers, right? This is a rookie who's playing an outsized role that we were probably not expecting him to play in the Western Conference Finals right now. So I don't really want to fault some of these guys for being young and acting young and just being young players. This is kind of how it goes some of the times. I think with all of them, the one guy I think I would hold to a higher standard on that, though, is like Victor Wembanyama, right? Like, I think we kind of have to, with just how great he is. He gets kind of taken out of the games, and then he's just out of sorts in this one, right? Like 6 shot attempts in the first half. It's, truthfully more than that because he went to the line 7 times, but 6 field goal attempts in the box score in the first half. Like, that's not enough, really, It's
this is where, when we talk about what Wemby is going to be and how I sit here and think like, okay, I fear the future for the NBA because it's just going to be Wemby for a very long time. But he feeds on so much emotion right now that I think sometimes he can take himself out of the game a little too easily. But can also fuel what we saw in game 1 that made everybody just lose their minds. Yeah. I think that he has so much confidence in the shooting aspect of his game that he will tend to rely on that and be like, hey, no problem. If you guys want to pack the paint, I'm willing to go out to 3. And it's not that he can't, it's that he doesn't always. And 0 for 5, like, I don't know if we want to call up the shot chart, but
go ahead.
Which button? I don't know what button did we press. That one?
There
okay, we go. So on the YouTube page, 0 of 5 from 3, 0 for 1 on a long 2, and then 4 for 9 in the paint, 3 of 5 at the rim. Like, none of it was good. I think when you look at 3 of 5 at the rim and 1 of 4 in the paint, first of all, those 9 shots should all be at the rim. And they just need to figure out a way to get Wemby into the middle of that defense, no matter how many guys are around there, and just throw it up high and just finish up high. And that's he just can't have that overconfidence in, okay, if you want to play Chet in Hartenstein and you want to be like that and you want to just have a bunch of hands digging at the ball whenever I put it on the floor, I'll just go stand out here and shoot and I can beat you that way. That's where he just needs to be like, no, I'm going to beat you on my terms, not beat you on your terms.
It just seems like you don't want him only playing on the perimeter like that. And you've got to get him established a little bit further down and like play inside out, essentially, I think, kind of.
It just makes him a normal player.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If all he is out on the perimeter, then
okay. I thought you were talking about down low, and I was like, sir.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he wants to be out on the perimeter, he just becomes basically a normal player. Well, and if he hits, he's great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But
they just get an elite 3-point shooter and use that guy instead of Victor Wembanyama. You minimize what makes him great, right? I see the same thing here in New Orleans when people are like, Zion should take tons of threes. It's like, well, that kind of like eliminates what makes him good, and he's not going to be elite at that. So maybe some, but not all of that. It's that same kind of idea. Part of the problem is also just that, the Spurs didn't hit their shots here when they had their opportunities, right? 7 for 21 for 3 is not going to, that was in the first half, like isn't going to get it done for what they kind of need here. 12. Overall. Yeah. Like they really just, you got to hit those shots when you create those. Whereas like the Thunder guys hit those sorts of things, right? Like we didn't even talk about Jared McCain in the first segment here, but he was big at times for him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
but that's the experience thing.
Yes. And, playing with experienced players calms down the other guys versus the Spurs. It's all 20 or, young 20 somethings and, De'Aaron Fox, who's limited with the ankle. So yeah, man, this is tough. Again, I'll wrap up by saying they have the potential to kind of see what this was in this game and go home and understand like, okay, like this is the Wembanyama thing to just take a day and say, I get it. I process it. How quickly can you process it? I get what they're doing. I get where I need to be. I get where I need to bring my team. Let's go out there. Let's win game 6 and see what happens in a game 7. Or you don't get it and you have to spend a summer kind of looking in on yourself and say, okay, we fell short because we didn't know all of this. Maybe you make a trade to get an experienced player and you adjust accordingly. Maybe the Spurs are kind of doing something that we thought the Pistons
That's a good way to put it. That's like a very good way to put it.
So figure out who you have. Like this was never supposed to be the Spurs year to win a championship either. So also there is a little house money thing happening here where if the inexperience costs them, not the worst thing in the world, you get that, you take that bad taste in your mouth and you go into the summer and be like, all right, let's figure out, do we need to add? What do we need to add? What kind of internal improvement is this going to spur? They're a very, very good team, and there's no shame in losing to the defending champs in this situation.
No, they've done exceptionally well in this series, I think, here so far. But look, they're against the ropes. Let's see how they respond. That's what kind of makes this fun, and this can be a catalyst for growth for this young team, as we've been saying here. Coming up next, though, is this kind of like the perfect storm for the New York Knicks? Also, Joe Mazzulla wins Coach of the Year. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night brought to you by Rugiet. The NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. And just like the performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers treatment designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue, and it works fast, often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rugiet, performance medicine for men. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We're here 7 days a week covering every game across the association, the playoffs, the finals. We'll be here for the draft and free agency as well. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm making Locked On Spurs my second listen today. I'm really curious to see what adjustments they can make to try and get this series to a game 7. But they're going to be playing whoever wins is going to be playing the New York Knicks in the finals. And we'll get to them in a second. But John, your coach, Joe Mazzulla, Coach of the Year for the Boston Celtics. He's thrilled about this, right? He's gonna savor this award, treasure it for forever.
Get it right. Staff of the Year. It's the Staff of the Year award, according to Joe Mazzulla. Yes. Listen, Joe has said flat out, this is a stupid award. And I get it. Joe's never going to just be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm great. He always wants to deflect credit. It's the players first, it's the staff second, and then it's him. That's the Joe Mazzulla kind of way. That said, this is a representation of the Celtics winning 56 games when people like me had them projected at 44 or 45. Derek White tells the story of Joe Mazzulla calling him up on his birthday saying, "Happy birthday. Everybody thinks we're going to suck. I love it," and hanging up. And that's this classic Joe. And the Celtics, obviously first round crushing disappointment, blowing a 3-1 lead. That's absolutely part of the criticism for Joe and the team. But regular season, he pressed every button, got the most out of basically every player on that team. It was an absolute shock that they won 56 games. And, congratulations to him and the staff, who all do a fantastic job. So congratulations.
Yeah, congrats to Joe Mazzulla and staff. All right, staying in the East, the New York Knicks are in the finals. They're going to have a good break here, even if this only goes to 6 games. Is this about the best case scenario, you think, for the New York Knicks?
I almost wish they had another game, like just one more. I think in some sense, yes, this is a best case scenario because the Spurs and the Thunder, like each game you have to play is a potential for something else to happen. A tweak, a hamstring, an ankle, something, right? And so part of winning a championship is luck. You have to play great. You have to have a little bit of that shooting variance that they've gotten, and you got to get a little luck on your side. You have to be healthy. If somebody else on the other side is a little banged up, then you just take it. You take it, you get your championship, and then you move on, and people forget about that stuff. So that's going to be in their favor for sure. But you talk about some level of an experience. The Knicks have never, like these Knicks, they've never been this far. They don't know what the NBA finals are. And it is a much different ball game as far as the cadence of the day, the NBA, where, the practices are at, you're going to practice at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks practice in Westchester, New York, way up and outside of the city. Now you're practicing at Madison Square Garden. Just changes the whole routine, changes the number of media that's there. You have a lot of time to sit there and think, which means you can overthink, which means, you kind of maybe psych yourself out a little bit. There's a little potential for that there. Whereas, like, let's just say OKC wins. They win. You get a couple of days off. Boom, you get to the NBA finals. You just keep on playing. You keep on rolling. Very, very regular season cadence there. So it's good, but not all good for the Knicks.
Yeah, look, to the Knicks' credit, I don't think this will impact them too much. They seem like they're kind of rolling right now. They also had 9 days from, the sweep of the Sixers to game one of the Cavs game, although they did come out looking horrifically flat until 7 minutes left in that game one that we covered a week ago. So
I don't think OKC is blowing a 20-something point lead.
Yeah, right. So I wonder if that does kind of matter a little bit, but they've shown they can kind of like handle that break. Your point of like you're practicing in Madison Square Garden, it's going to be a little bit different. I wonder, like, does this time off help you kind of prep for all the other stuff for that, right? Like, you have time to think about that. You have time to do, like, set the expectations as a coaching staff, as a front office for the rest of these guys too.
Hey, man, if I was the Knicks, I'd start doing that now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would assume they're kind of doing that. Yeah.
I don't know what what's allowed at Madison Square Garden. Like, they've got events, they've got to make money off the building. So who knows what, but I would start changing the routine as soon as possible now, just to get them into that flow. So yeah, if they can practice at MSG and get into that routine, this is the time to start doing it. Get out of your comfort zone now. It's like swinging the weighted bat. Just start doing that now. So when you can get up to the plate, your bat feels nice and light and you start like ripping away. So yeah, I think the Knicks need to get into that kind of cadence as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Look, I think they're going to be pretty prepared though. They have looked,
they play great.
Like they look awesome.
When I say the time off.
No, I'm with you though. Like we've seen that impact teams. You're in
Karl Anthony Towns going to start being like, it's cat time. Like it's just a little bit of a, it's the finals. It's just different. And like, this is where, I don't know, this is the stuff you dream about when you're a kid. So you don't think like these guys are sitting there in bed. I know they're all adults, but you're not sitting there dreaming about like, oh man, Karl Anthony Towns just scored 50 points. He's the finals MVP. Like he's not sitting there having those daydreams. Come on. It's just natural to have that stuff. You just don't want too much of that. You want to be normal. You just want to be in that flow like you are during the regular season. I think that players just want that to some degree. They'll take getting healthy, but they want some normalcy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're going to have will have a pretty significant layoff here, especially if it goes to, well, I guess the finals are starting on June 2nd, no matter what. So their time off is going to be exactly the same. So won't change too much for them if it goes to 6 or 7, but they'll be playing a more beat up, exhausted team. That can make a difference there too. So they're probably like, this is cool. We'll take whatever disruptions we get and take our time off. But make Locked On Knicks your second listen today to hear how they are preparing for their first finals in 27 years. Yeah, 26 years. Crazy. No, 27 years. I had the math right. There we go. I was an English major. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of it's like, where's my calculator? That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. On Wednesdays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Corrales, at John_Corrales on Twitter, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast.
We appreciate y'all listening. We'll be back with y'all next week. Listen to the show tomorrow too.
Locked On No Game Night.